Guys, do you remember Lasgo, who had a massive hit with Something back in 99, 2000?
I can see it in your eyes. There is something you want.
Well, this is their brand new single.
So please take me back to when I can feel the sun on my face again. Surround me in summer nights.
Only joking, this is our brand new Lasgo style tutorial. It's a remake song. We got the original singer, Evi Goffin, from those hits 20 years ago, so that's super exciting. Learn how to recreate their synths, their hooks, their song structure, their melodies, their lyrics, how to put it all together. I'll explain it all step by step. Why don't you follow along with me and recreate the song yourself? It's going to be so much fun. Let's take a look. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit for this tutorial. I normally start with the drums, but let's do it a little bit differently. Let's start with the iconic Lasgo synth riff, the really catchy riff. So first of all, let's just change the BPM to 140. Start setting up the project, 140 BPM, because a lot of Lasgo songs are made at 140 BPM. Just check your sample rate as well. I'm working at 44.1 kilohertz at 24-bit, and just make sure you're on a blank new project starting from scratch in whatever DAW you've chosen. So before we actually come up with a riff for our Lasgo song, we need to get the sound right, because obviously this is a tutorial in the style of Lasgo and we want it to sound like them as well. So let's recreate the sound, or at least let me show you what I've come up with. The riff I want to recreate is the really catchy riff from Alone, and what I did was recreate the MIDI just by listening to it and then try to recreate the sound in Vital, and then we can move on to our own riff. So I'm giving you the preset in Vital, I'm giving you the MIDI as well. It will either be in the work files, which is in the download zip, or if you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a little link underneath this video to some free work files. So I'm just going to quickly create a Vital instrument. Now, if you've been following along with our tutorials for a while, you definitely have Vital installed. It's a free synth, but just in case you don't, you can just simply Google Vital synth, click the first link, and it's completely free. It's an amazing synth. Just scroll to the bottom, and you've got the basic free version here. There are other versions available which come with more presets and wavetables, but the basic one is absolutely fine for what we need here. So just get that installed if you haven't already, and then just fire up an instrument track and just load a preset from the work files or the free work files. And we go to these three lines here, open external, well, you'll go to open external preset and go and find that preset. It will be in the Vital presets folder, and the preset will be called JP Goodness. One of Demis Helen's actually. Demis Helen has lots of preset banks for sale, and he is an absolute genius sound designer on Vital, so please check them out. And I can tell you they're really, really popular on our website. I've already loaded up JP Goodness. I just went to browse and searched for it here. If you've already got it on your system, you can just do that. If not, go to your open external preset. And this is just one half of the sound. We need another one. So that's the upper section. Just going to create another one quickly, because there's two layers to this sound. Again, open external preset. This time you're looking for Lasgo synth riff in your download folder. For me, it's on the computer already. Lasgo synth riff. So we've got our two Vital instruments now. We've got an upper part and a lower part. Again, always trying to mimic the original sound of Lasgo. That is why there's two parts. Now we just need to bring in the MIDI. This is for the Alone song riff, not our own one yet. So Alone upper. If you just go to the MIDI folder in your downloads and chuck it in there, and Alone lower. And I think we'll just reduce the volume slightly on both of these. And let's see what we got. So if you go and have a listen to Alone by Lasgo on YouTube or whatever, you'll see that that's very, very similar sound. I've spent a little bit of time with Demis's help as well, trying to get that sound. So the upper half is with the JP wavetable, and the lower part is with a sort of combination of pulse saws and JP 8000, trying to mimic the synths back in the early 2000s, which is what they used. And the MIDI here, right, that's the lower part. So Lasgo riffs often have a lower part as well, so just solo that. And then they combine that with the upper half, obviously. Okay, perhaps a bit too much reverb on that, but that's fine. It gets us in the ballpark. We can always just go in there and just turn down the reverb a little bit. Okay, so that's the first part underway when I'm trying to remake a song by another artist, is to get the sound correct. So you use the original notes that they used, then you recreate the sound, so then you know you're on the right sort of ballpark, and now we can create our own riff. Obviously, we're not going to use their riff because it'll be an exact copy. We now need to recreate our own song, come up with new riffs, chords, pads, vocals, lyrics, etc., etc. So we can just put these to the side now because we're not going to use them. We may come back for reference or something later. I'm not going to compare this to the original on screen because we'll probably get a copyright strike. But if you just quickly go and have a listen to that track, you'll see that it's fairly close. So now let's bring in the MIDI. Again, it will be in your downloads, still under the MIDI folder for the actual track that I came up with, so the riff that I came up with. This will be Lasgo lower, which will go. We're starting on bar 25, by the way, just so we've got time or space to put in an intro, that sort of thing. Rather than starting right up on bar 1, then you have to move everything. And Lasgo upper. And let's just have a listen to what I came up with. Okay, so again, we've got a lower part. I was mimicking what they were doing, the producers were doing in Lasgo. And we've got an upper part as well. Nice sort of few layers going on there. Just zooming in there so you can see a bit more what's going on. So you can see we're not using full chords, we're just using the bass note D with a couple of A's in different octaves. This one's just D all the way along. D, A again, and then F sharp, C sharp, C. So just a couple of notes to the chord, not 3, 4, or 5, because we're combining it with this one here. Just turning that upper down a bit, it's quite loud. Okay, and when you do, check this with the original, which obviously you need to keep doing if you're trying to mimic another sound. We just need to apply some EQ here. So EQ for the upper. We always want to roll off the bottom end to make way for our bass line that's going to be coming later on. So change that to a steep curve. And we're always looking to roll out sort of under 200 really. If you don't EQ out all of your, drums, synths, whatever, of the low end, the sub area, then they all start summing up later on in the track when you've got lots and lots of tracks. And it then messes up the low end of the track, which is extremely important not to do that. We want to keep this space free for our bass line, in particular the low end of the bass line. Now this needed a little boost here, I believe. So it just makes it sound a little bit thinner, which is how the original sounded. And let me just quickly go to the lower and EQ that. Again, we'll be doing this a lot, by the way, rolling at the bottom end. So I won't mention it every single time, I'll just do it quickly. I believe there was a top end roll off quite a bit on these, just to sort of mimic the synths and the production sounds back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So let's just do that. So you can hear it's got a bit of a buzz without the EQ. And we're just taking that away. And we need to do the same really here as well. Just take off this top. Because the sounds weren't that bright back then. Not as bright as they are today. So before EQ. And let's put them together. Obviously always referencing the original one you're working towards. And to give this a little bit of more stereo spread on the upper regions, what I did was I duplicated the upper version. And I need to put in left on here, but I just want to change this as well. Riff, don't need alone anymore. Riff upper left. Actually shift enter to rename the part in Cubase. And riff lower R, shift and enter. And riff lower. I do like to keep things neat. I'm a bit of a neat freak, obviously. And what we need to now is just highlight the track, pan it left, and just spotted an error. Sorry, that should be riff upper R. So we've got riff upper left, panned all the way left, riff upper R, panned all the way right. The bass line being in the center, or the bass part of the synth, I should say, being more in the center. Because these are exactly the same signal, they will appear down the center, even though they're panned. We just need to delay one side or do something to it, add distortion or something. Need to make it different, but I just put in kind of like 15 milliseconds of delay, which I'm doing just under the pan pot there. So just delay the right side, just so these become wider. There you go. So now the upper part is in the left and right regions, and if we bring in the lower part, it's more central. Okay, let's just bring them down a little bit more, so minus 12 or so. They're the upper ones. So there's our riff that we're going to be sort of basing the track around, and we'll quickly bring in a kick, but we won't process it just yet. Don't want this first lesson to go on forever. So let's just go to our audio folder within the downloads, go to kick, and rather than just drag it in, I think we'll drag it into a sampler track. So create a sampler track. If you've got one in your DAW, most DAWs come with sampler tracks now. Just name it kick. We'll drag it to the top. I like all my drums at the top. So the kick, we're going to drag into the sampler here. Okay, I think we've got a little bit of a bug in the new Cubase 13. It won't let me import the kick. Just bring it into the arrangement. And always copy the files to the project folder and convert anything that needs converting. So there's our kick. And I'll just see if I can drag it in the sampler. Yeah, it's working now. So I think we've got a bit of a bug there. So we can just get rid of this one quickly. Shift and delete. So we've got our kick in a sampler now. And we'll just delete that audio version there. Got a kick to the top, and all we need obviously is MIDI to trigger this. So pen tool. Obviously C3. And we always need to turn that down in terms of gain staging. If you bring the kick in at full pelt and then start building your track around it, you're going to have massive problems with clipping and all sorts later on. So you need to bring in the energetic kick. You need to bring it down. And let's just duplicate that across. And just get a quick balance. still think these synths can come down a little bit. 15 to minus 15. Okay, so we've got a rough mix going on there. Rough balance, I should say. It's not even a mix. And that is the start of our track. That is the backbone, the riff. So we've got the sound from the original Lasgo track. We mimicked it, we remade it in Vital, and then we came up with our own riff for our new track. So in the next lesson, we'll just quickly EQ that kick, make it sit better, and we'll start looking at the iconic Lasgo bass line. See you then, guys. Bye-bye.